live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waudo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu honors Nigeria's fallen heroes, reaffirms support for the armed forces as Vice President Kashim Shettima leads officials and dignitaries to the Wreath laying ceremony concluding 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance celebrations. The new Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Refinery, David Bird, says the company will, as much as possible, shield Nigerian consumers from global markets. Nigeria records a 32.5% Reputation Perception Index score, ranking in the low trust band and highlighting major confidence gaps despite the nation's size, visibility, and vast potential. And amid escalating friction with local officials over immigration tactics, President Donald Trump threatens to invoke century-old legislation to deploy federal troops into Minnesota soil to enforce national order. In our business, National Bureau of Statistics reports December inflation at 15.15% after data methodology update.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria Super Falcons have been drawn in Group C alongside Zambia, Egypt and Malawi at the 2026 WAFCON draw in Rabat.
And from Abuja, Federal Capital Territory High Court strikes out defamation case against Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, filed by the federal government. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his commitment to the welfare and dignity of the nation's armed forces. In a personal message to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, the president said, quote, "We remember the brave men and women of the Nigerian armed forces who sacrificed everything for our country. Their names might not always be remembered, but their courage sustains our freedom and peace. A nation that forgets its fallen heroes loses its direction. Nigeria, however, remembers. Today, we celebrate our serving personnel, from the front lines to support positions on land, sea, and air. You carry the heavy responsibility of protecting our people and sovereignty with discipline, courage, and professionalism, often far from home. As President and Commander-in-Chief, I reaffirm my commitment to the welfare and dignity of our armed forces. A secure Nigeria stands behind those who defend it. We will continue to support them in action." Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima and government officials and dignitaries to the Wreath laying ceremony to round up the week-long activities for the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The leadership of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and service chiefs were all among those who joined the Vice President in laying the wreath and paying the respect to honor the sacrifices of the fallen military officers and veterans. The program, which is organized yearly to commemorate the country's fallen heroes, also witnessed a gun salute and the release of pigeons at the National Arcade at the Eagle Square in Abuja. Our State House correspondent Larry Lasisi covered the solemn event and now reports.
With the Nigerian flag waving proudly in the Harmattan breeze, servicemen and women stood smartly in formation. It's the wreath laying ceremony, the climax of the week-long activities set out to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. Present are members of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, members of the Diplomatic Corps, military officers, and families of the late soldiers. The arrival of Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is representing President Bola Tinubu, signals the commencement of the ceremony. He then leads dignitaries towards the cenotaph for the wreath-laying ceremony, where prayers are said and a 1-minute silence is observed.
The moment the Vice President President is proceeding to lay the way. This is a time.
One after the other, with the Vice President leading, wreaths are laid. Three volleys are fired by the firing party. Some pigeons symbolizing peace are then released, marking the end of the day's ceremony. For some of the dignitaries, it is a day to pay tribute to the sacrifices made for the country.
Thank you for protecting our democracy. Thank you for working with this administration to take the nation to the next level. We are proud of what the president is doing about the welfare of the men in service. It can only get better.
We pray to Almighty for them to continue to rest at the perfect peace, and for Almighty to comfort the widows, the widows, the orphans, and also the wounded.
We have realized that we're only remembering all those who are passed on and forgetting those who are living. And that's why we made it that it's critical. We celebrate those who are alive so that they know that their sweat is not forgotten. And then why we also remember those who are passed on, including those who are injured. And that's why we say that we want to make it very holistic.
We are giving the veteran assurance, better day ahead. And we're also telling those ones serving, as they retire, good thing are waiting for them, because we're joining hands to work well when they are coming after their retirement.
According to the military, this year's Remembrance Day is special as it marks the recorded successes of our armed forces in the Northeast and other parts of the country. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
And as governors across northern Nigeria mark this year's Armed Forces celebration and Remembrance Day in their state capitals, they are also pledging their continued support for families of fallen heroes. While some made cash donations to relatives of the fallen heroes and serving officers, others approved scholarships for children of the fallen heroes.
15 is set aside to honor members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, to recognize serving and fallen heroes during the Armed Forces celebration and Remembrance Day. Government officials participated in the exercise, which involved the laying of wreath in honor of the national heroes.
Put down.
The event also witnessed the release of pigeons as a symbol of peace.
It's a very special day for us, not just in Adamawa State, but particularly for us in Adamawa State, because we have also produced a lot of veterans and a lot of fallen heroes. So we come here yearly to remember the sacrifice they made to ensure that Nigeria remains as one complete entity.
Some state governors made cash donations to the Military Widows Association, the wives of soldiers and serving soldiers.
As a governor, and on behalf of the government and the good people of Kebbi State, I reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the welfare of our armed forces, our veterans, and the families they left behind.
Some governors pledged to offer more support for widows and orphans of the fallen heroes, especially those involved in frontline operations.
You rightly asked, Yobe State is next to Borno in terms of the devastation of the Boko Haram insurgency. And if you could remember, even this particular point that we are standing at a point in time was under Boko Haram control. But today you can see we are enjoying relative peace as a result of our collective prayers, efforts, community, native intelligence, and the gallantry of our military and other security agencies that are collaborating to restore peace and normalcy, which of course we are today enjoying.
It's a very unique day, a very sobering moment for the entire nation and for us here as a state. By a number of factors. We're celebrating those who are currently serving, those who have voluntarily given their lives to bring freedom to us, to keep us safe, to secure our borders, and to ensure that we live as a sovereign nation. And then for those who remember the fallen heroes who made the supreme sacrifice so that the freedom gained must continue by its tenets.
Our armed forces and security personnel have stood firm, often at great personal risks. Many of our brave sons and daughters have paid the ultimate price in the cause of restoring peace and stability to our communities. Today, we salute their courage and reaffirm our collective resolve to build a safer and more prosperous Zamfara state.
The event also featured the 21-gun salute.
January 15 every year is a date set aside to celebrate fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives defending Nigeria's security and unity. In memory of these fallen heroes, state governments across southern Nigeria also held their Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day to honor them.
This year, the ceremony has been rejigged, now called the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day Parade, where officers of the Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force, and veterans in the Nigerian Legion marched in a memorial procession to honor fallen ex-servicemen at the Remembrance Arcade Ground. At Okpara Square, Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah performed the wreath laying alongside other military and paramilitary officers and reaffirms his commitment in supporting the Nigerian Armed Forces.
On this day of remembrance, we honor those families who continue to carry their memory.
Anambra State also joined in marking the Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the Dr. Alex Ekweme Square, Awka. The governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, inspects the quarter guard and lays the memorial wreath at the cenotaph alongside the state service commanders and the chief judge.
While we celebrate our past, while we remember the future, we will also have to think about the matters, the unfinished business.
Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State announced a support package for families of fallen heroes at the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, held at the Ndubuisi Kanu Square in Owerri, the state capital.
Today, we'll be handing out here on this ground the sum of 600 million naira to the families of our fallen heroes. For me, today is more than a day of national remembrance. It is a personal milestone.
Speaking during the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Ceremony at the Aguiyi-Ironsi Cenotaph in Umuahia, Dr. Alex Huti, who led other top government officials to the event, described the occasion as an opportunity for his administration to celebrate members of the armed forces.
I would like to especially commend the leadership of the different security agencies in the state for their unyielding resolve to the safety of lives and property in the urban and rural centers of Abia State.
Activities marking the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Delta State concluded in Asaba with a solemn wreath-laying ceremony as Governor Sheriff Oborewori and other top government officials paid tribute to Nigeria's fallen heroes. Now to Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara also led top state government officials and armed forces commanders to lay wreaths at the cenotaph of fallen heroes. Governor Fubara delivered his 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day address advocating for better welfare and a united Nigeria.
I reiterate that I will continue to strengthen our relationship with the various military command structure in Rivers State and provide relevant logistical support to enhance the operation and well-being, including efficiency.
Cross River State was also not left out in the ceremony, as the Deputy Governor speaks highly of the departed servicemen and women, assuring them that their welfare and morale remain a top priority of the state government.
The fact that we can sleep in this state is because of the hard-working military officers that we have here. So we are here to show respect to them. We are here to continue to support the Nigerian military.
In Lagos, the State Deputy Governor, Quadri Hamzat, arrives at the venue for the 2026 annual ceremony. He says the sacrifice made by the fallen heroes will never be forgotten because it marks the symbol of the nation's unity.
The nation is behind them, and that we are praying for them, and that we will do everything that it takes to always support them.
And in Ogun, the Deputy Governor also laid the wreath and commended the armed forces for their strength in ensuring unity and development in the country.
We are celebrating our armed forces who continue to serve this country in spite of all the challenges they are there, putting their lives forward for the unity and the security of this country.
The yearly activity constantly reflects that those who fought the Civil War and the military officers still on the battlefield are well appreciated and will not be forgotten in Nigeria's history.
They definitely will never be forgotten. And in part two, after the break, Nigeria records a 32.5% reputation perception index score, ranking in the low trust band, highlighting major confidence gaps despite the nation's size, its visibility, and its vast potential. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Bola Tinubu honors Nigeria's fallen heroes, reaffirms firm support for the armed forces as Vice President Kashim Shettima leads officials and dignitaries to the wreath-laying ceremony concluding 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance celebrations. The new Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Refinery, David Bird, says the company will, as much as possible, shield Nigerian consumers from global market volatility. Nigeria records a 32.5% reputation perception index score, ranking the low trust band and highlighting major confidence gaps despite the nation's size, visibility, and vast potential. Amid escalating friction with local officials from immigration tactics, President Donald Trump threatens to invoke century-old legislation to deploy federal troops into Minnesota soil to enforce national order. And for the military widows whose lives are often altered after the death of their loved ones, it's also a day to listen to their plights. They have appealed to state governments to expand support for them beyond cash donations. This request resonated as they also marked the 2026 celebrations to honor serving and fallen heroes. This next report takes a look at the concerns of relatives of fallen heroes and retired servicemen.
The annual Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day offers opportunity for the nation to recall the sacrifice of service and fallen military officers. The day is traceable to the end of the Nigerian Civil War, which was a major conflict that threatened the unity of the nation. The day was initially celebrated on the 11th of November in honor of World War I veterans in the British Commonwealth of Nations. However, it was moved to the 15th of January in commemoration of the conclusion of the Civil War. Since then, members of the Nigerian Armed Forces have paid the ultimate price in various military operations across the country. They leave behind spouses and children who are now lamenting their inability to access their entitlements.
We want scholarship for our children. We want them to support us with good work. The ones that they are not educated, support them with good money to start business, so that our children will not suffer.
As they left us, some of us, they left us along the road. We don't even know where to start after they left. So please, we are appealing to the government, as I said earlier, that they should please help us in acquiring job opportunities for us. And then some of us that are not in school, maybe they have not gone to school, should acquire skill acquisition training for them in order to support ourselves.
Tales of neglect is also the case of some retired soldiers, especially those who participated in the Civil War and other military operations.
Let them do something so that the other people to survive. Because we see some that you would see anybody, all soldiers here now. Those that they are taking 30,000, 20-something thousand, 40,000, you see them different. And you see those ones that are taking 100 and something, 200,000, you see them different.
The life with us, in fact, is very, very torturing. In the sense that we are being discriminated in the army payment. We who fought the war, we who kept Nigeria one, we who brought in the goodies that people are now enjoying, we are being castigated. Even the new soldiers who have just come into the army, they are paying themselves more money than us.
While government at all levels take advantage of the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day to make promises of improved welfare of personnel and those they left behind, military widows and ex-servicemen are hopeful that words will be matched with action.
And away from the Armed Forces celebrations, Nigeria has recorded a 32.5% reputation perception index score, placing the country in a low trust reputation band, which now signals significant confidence gaps relative to the nation's scale, its visibility, and immense potential. This was revealed at the official launch of the 2025 Nigeria Reputation Perception Index report put together by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Speaking at that event, the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, says that the report is both timely and strategic, especially at a period when trust in public institutions has become a redefining factor in governance and national development. According to him, the Reputation Index provides a scientific and objective framework for measuring public perception. It also avails an opportunity for leaders and organizations to assess themselves honestly and make necessary improvements.
Nigeria currently stands at a defining moment as it seeks to strengthen its global reputation and rebuild public trust. It is on this premise that the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations is unveiling the first Nigeria Reputation Perception Index report, a research compilation conceived in 2019. The report represents the first comprehensive research-driven effort to measure Nigeria's reputation across critical indicators and marks a significant milestone in advancing evidence-based reputation management for the country.
This exercise is designed to reposition reputation as a strategic national asset, one that should inform public policy, inform diplomatic engagement, inform investment attraction, inform genuine national rebranding, not the normal thing that we do. It's not just to be treated anymore as a peripheral communication concern.
The report is anchored on 7 actionable pillars, namely leadership, performance, credibility, innovation, communication, social equity, and culture. The report is also based on insights from 3,911 domestic and international stakeholders, providing a baseline of how Nigeria is perceived. Findings from the report also reveal a trust deficit, with a score of 35.2%, placing the country in a low trust reputation band.
The pillars and their attributes were tested and refined through survey design and focus group discussions to ensure 2 things: to ensure relevance to Nigeria's context while maintaining global comparability. This result is a framework that is intentionally credible, yet locally relevant.
The Deputy Senate President describes the initiative as a critical pillar of democratic governance.
This report is of immense value, very valuable to the legislature of Nigeria. The National Assembly, in particular, as the custodian of the people's mandate, requires credible data and independent insights to effectively discharge its core responsibilities of lawmaking, oversight, and representation.
The report is then launched. As Nigeria continues to navigate governance and economic challenges, the NIPR says the Reputation Index will be published periodically to track progress over time. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
The federal government is mainstreaming space technology to tackle insecurity, illegal mining and revenue leakages across the country. This initiative will use satellite-based systems to strengthen regulation of space ecosystem. It will monitor natural resources and ensure compliance by local and international operators. The Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency, Mr. Matthew Adepoju, disclosed this at the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja, describing this agreement as a major step towards improving national security and economic justice.
We are so happy to partner with the EFCC in the pursuit of implementation of our space regulation and spectrum management. This is for a fact that we know there are some satellite aspects that are being used negatively that is driving the insecurity in the country. Some of our natural resources are mapped to the satellite platform and they are supplying the information to local backers. We know for a fact from some of the research work we've done that one of the drivers of insecurity in the country is illegal mining activities in our country. That's why it's expedient for us to make sure that everybody that operates from the 3 realms of the space sector, from the upstream, midstream, and downstream, we make sure everybody is regulated and comply with the law of the land.
And for the chairman of the EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, the Commission will deploy digital assets tagging and real-time monitoring to improve asset recovery and management.
For us, we will support you in the area of your fraud risk assessment. And for you, you also support us in promoting our investigative capacity by helping us to ensure that where our eyes cannot get to, with the aid of your technology, you'll be able to lead us there. Investigation and prosecution of illegal mining activities. And with the aid of the technology you are going to support us with, we'll be able to identify some of these areas. That's part of the things we are going to capture, so it will help our investigative capacity. And secondly, we also believe that the support you are going to give us, the platform we're going to work on, will also help us to manage our assets in the most transparent and accountable manner. And that is what we promote in the FCC.
This still ahead on the news at 10. National Bureau of Statistics reports December inflation at 15.15% after data methodology update. And that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. Veteran journalist, media entrepreneur and former People's Democratic Party presidential aspirant Dele Momodu has officially pitched his tent with the African Democratic Congress. The publisher turned politician was formally presented with his ADC membership card during a colorful reception held in his honor as a party state secretariat in Benin City, the Edo state capital. Addressing party faithful, Mr. Momodu says that his decision to join the coalition party is driven by his long-standing commitment to advancement of democracy and good governance in Nigeria. He says that he is confident that the ADC will play a decisive role in shaping Nigeria's political future from 2027, and as the party has two of the top three contenders from last presidential race.
It's a colorful welcome for renowned publisher of Ovation magazine, Dele Momodu, as the African Democratic Congress ADC Edo State chapter rolls out the drums at its state secretariat. National officers, state leaders and party faithful turn out in their numbers, lending weight and spectacle to the occasion.
To all over the country. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. We're standing because we are going to hear from the fountain of wisdom.
The ceremony quickly moves to the heart of the matter as Edo State ADC Chairman Kennedy Odio formally presents a membership card to the media icon, now one of the most prominent names on the party's expanding register.
You are welcome. Congratulations, sir.
Party leaders take turns pouring glowing tributes on the veteran journalist, describing his entry as a major boost to the ADC's national outlook.
In his capacity as a media man, he was one of those who policed the politician. Today he has decided enough is enough. He had better join in this trouble.
We have added to us today another juggernaut. A man who has achieved in his profession. A man, like we said, some people are born with greatness. Some people have greatness thrust upon them. But Dele Momodu, from dint of hard work and God's blessing, achieved greatness.
Moments before heading to another reception in his hometown of Yewe, our East local government area of Edo State, the former presidential aspirant speaks confidently about the ADC's prospects ahead of the 2027 general elections. According to him, whoever flies the party's presidential flag will be well positioned to clinch victory.
Of course, we are united enough, and we will be totally united by the time our various candidates emerge. At the beginning, there is always noise, people fighting. It is normal. But I can tell you, ADC already parades 2 out of the 3 top presidential candidates in the last election. 2.
As political activities gather momentum nationwide, Dele Momodu says his move to the African Democratic Congress signals his belief in a coalition he describes as capable of reclaiming power and offering Nigerians renewed hope.
We head to the nation's capital, Abuja, now to join Millicent Walker for more stories on the news at 10. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Anne. And we begin in the courts where Justice Chizoba Orji of the Federal Capital Territory High Court has struck out the alleged defamation case against Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, filed by the federal government. Justice Orji struck out the suit following the application by the prosecution lawyer, Adirunke Imana, to discontinue the suit. Counsel to Senator Natasha Wesidahosa, however, moved for the matter to be struck out following the prosecution's application for discontinuance. He also urged the court to release all documents belonging to the defendant and her sureties. The prosecution counsel did not oppose to the application made by the defense counsel for the matter to be struck out. In a short ruling, Justice Chizoba Orji struck out the suit and equally discharged the sureties. The judge further made orders releasing her travel documents as well as the title deeds of her sureties.
A sincere appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
for having been briefed the truth, and in his commitment to justice, ordered the discontinuance of the 2 cases. So finally, I appreciate my husband, my beloved husband. Thank you so much, my love, comfort. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. Even when I didn't believe in things, you did. You stood for me. Thank you. My team, my party, my staff, everybody. In short, I can't even begin to mention the people. Thank you all so much. I have never doubted that Nigeria is a land of possibilities and that the truth somehow will always get one vindicated. So now I can actually rest and resume my work fully, because it's been a whole lot the past few months, no matter how strong and tough one is. For a person like me that has never been invited by the police for anything, does not have any financial a case of financial embezzlement or drug abuse and nothing. I'm what one will actually say a good citizen of Nigeria. So to just be slammed simultaneously by 2 federal government cases, that was a whole lot. But they say whatever doesn't break you makes you stronger. I would say I'm actually toughened, but it's not something I would want to experience and I wouldn't wish to anybody. But at the end of the day, I think justice prevailed. So thank you all and God bless.
Let's bring you some company news now. Data generation, storage and security are critical steps to national development in a technology-driven world. A cloud storage, data protection and secure file sharing company, CloudCentric, says it is committed to helping organizations safeguard critical information and operate securely in the digital space. The company disclosed this at its unveiling and signing ceremony of its brand ambassador, Ibadan-based media entrepreneur Mr. Riyomi Hamzat, held at its headquarters in New Bodija State, Ibadan, Oyo State capital.
Organizations generate vast volumes of sensitive data daily, from academic and medical records to financial documents and client information. Yet, many of these records remain vulnerable to loss or tampering. These gaps in data security underscore the need for reliable interventions. So in comes CloudCentric.
Across organizations today, one challenge keeps showing up again and again: how to protect sensitive information while still moving fast. Files are shared, data moves, but control, visibility, and accountability are often missing. CloudCentric was built to change that. We help organizations store, manage, and deliver sensitive information securely without relying on unsafe email attachments, uncontrolled file sharing, or fragile infrastructure. Every interaction is intentional, every access is controlled, and every action is accountable. This isn't about technology alone. It's about trust. Trust that personal records, academic results, contracts, and confidential documents reach the right people, and only the right people. Trust that organizations can grow and collaborate without compromising security or compliance.
At the unveiling ceremony, which brought together management staff and guests, the team lead and administrator, Mr. Ibrahim Mustafa, says CloudCentric is designed to solve data storage, protection, and secure file sharing challenges in a rapidly digitizing world.
Many Nigerian businesses are going digital now, but data security is still a major concern. CloudCentric provides secure, reliable services that meet international standards while supporting local businesses. Our goal is to help organizations grow confidently, knowing that their data is protected.
Customer data is never public accessible. All our systems are configured to prevent public access. That ensures our customers' information remains private and protected at all times. We are registered with the NDPDC, which is the Nigerian Data Protection Company in Nigeria. We are registered with the GDPR as well, and then we are registered as a company in Nigeria. So we are a registered company and we are a data protection company in Nigeria.
On customer engagement, CloudCentric emphasized responsive and dependable support services to ensure quick issue resolution and seamless data access.
We provide dedicated customer support to our clients whenever they need help. Our teams respond to questions, resolve issues quickly, and ensure our customers get an exceptional support at all times.
The company says the partnership reflects a commitment to trust, secure digital practices, and Nigeria's digital transformation, securing tomorrow one cloud at a time.
That's it from the nation's capital. Over now to Will Ebong in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Millicent. Dangote Refinery has revealed that between 30% and 40% of its crude stock is through the Naira for Crude program. And while this has led to the reduction of petrol, more supply uncertainty will lead to price stability. The new managing director and chief executive officer, Mr. David Bird, who had his first meeting with the media in Lagos, says the company will as much as possible shield Nigerian consumers from global volatility in the global markets.
Proud of this industry. I've spent my
Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals reveals their new managing director and chief executive officer, Mr. David Bird, an Australian with over 25 years of global experience in the oil and gas industry, and just before his latest appointment, the chief executive officer of 0Q8, where his responsibility included overseeing all commercial, strategy, operations, finance, treasury, and corporate of the independent joint venture between Oman Oil and Kuwait Petroleum International. This wealth of experience is expected to contribute to the growth and expansion of Dangote Refinery.
When you see the volatility out there in our inputs, which is the crude oil price or the product markers, and seeing those fluctuate and the volatility that comes, we are trying to insulate as much as possible the Nigerian market and bring stability to the Nigerian market. If you are fully import dependent, then you are fully exposed to the fluctuation in those markers of either crude or product price that we're talking about. So having that domestic production capability drives a level of insulation from the outside world, from the global volatility that you see in both crude and products.
One of his first major assignments would be the expansion project.
We are firmly of the belief that we will be able to build this plant within 3 years. So in terms of milestones this year, two things in parallel. In the immediate term, we'll be placing all of our long lead procurement items, which we aim to complete in the first months of 2026. And then as early as before the end of this month, starting some of our piling work, so commencing some of our site preparation. We have celebrated over 50 million litres of offtake as well, which means over 1,000 trucks. So 4,000 trucks now are on site. I think we're the world's largest parking lot. The final steps in the implementation of that is a computerized security system. So it's absolutely paramount for us to ensure that there is no shortage in the delivery and the arrival at the customer's doorstep.
Mr. Bird has also promised that the refinery will sustain the supply of high-quality fuel to bring stability and allow economic demand to grow in Nigeria.
Next up, Nigeria's headline inflation rate stood at 15.15% in December 2025, down from 17.33% in November and sharply lower than 34.8% a year earlier. And that's according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. And the NBS says the figure reflects an updated calculation method designed to avoid a technical distortion in the data in line with international standards. Food inflation came in at 10.84% year-on-year, supported by lower prices of key food items, including tomatoes, garri, beans, vegetables, and onions. Inflation in both urban and rural areas also moderated during the month. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, stood at 18.63% in December, lower than the level recorded a year earlier, indicating reduced underlying price pressures across the economy. And now checking on the domestic equities market, which recorded its first negative performance for the week, despite the 10% jump in Nestle Nigeria. Laddie Williams brings the highlights.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, it was a mixed and cautious session on the Nigerian exchange today as investors took some chips off the table and the market lost a bit of steam with the all-share index there closing lower 0.43%, but still holding on to the 166,000 level for the all-share index, reflecting a tug of war between bargain hunters and profit takers there. While 35 stocks managed to advance, 40 counters ended in the red, which also featured MTN Nigeria, after gaining a big 10% earlier this week and shedding 4% today. That's market mover MTN Nigeria. And after 9 days of climbing higher, the market finally takes a breather today with a rally pause, profit takers, stepping in, and the scorecard, turning mixed. The big question now, is this just a pit stop or the start of a change in direction?
Thank you, Ladi. We'll see where the NGX wind blows. Let's see how other major equities around the world perform today. And that's business news. I'm Will Ibong. Is back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Will. And outside our shores, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy troops to quell the unrest over federal immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis following 1 week of chaos, including the fatal shooting of Ms. Renee Nicole Good on January the 7th and a second shooting of a Venezuelan male national in the leg just last night. Let's join Simon Pisa with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
And that includes for Europe.
Donald Trump has said he has been told the killing in Iran has stopped, but the US president has not ruled out military action against the country over its violent crackdown on anti-government demonstrators. According to human rights groups, more than 2,400 people have been killed in the recent crackdown by the Iranian authorities in response to the protests. Mr. Trump's comments came after the US and UK both reduced the number of personnel at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Iran's airspace was closed to nearly all flights for 5 hours overnight, with several airlines announcing that they will reroute flights around Iran.
We've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or an execution or executions. So I've been told that a good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset.
A 15-strong French military contingent has arrived in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, as several European states send soldiers there as part of a so-called reconnaissance mission. The deployment, which will also include personnel from Germany, Sweden, Norway, the Netherlands and the UK, comes as US President Donald Trump continues to press his claim to the Arctic island. The movement of military personnel comes after Denmark and Greenland's foreign ministers travelled to Washington for a meeting with US Vice President J.D. Vance.
We have to respond to this. We have the longest lasting diplomatic relation with US that any US ally has. There's clearly a disagreement. We agreed that it makes sense to try to sit down on a high level to explore whether there is possibilities to accommodate the concerns of the president.
Logistical problems have delayed voting in Uganda's presidential and parliamentary elections in many parts of the country amid an internet shutdown. There was growing frustration among voters queuing at some polling stations in the capital Kampala, although voting does now seem to be underway in most areas. The delays of up to 4 hours have been blamed on failures of biometric identification kits, which some have linked to the network outage, as well as a lack of equipment in some places. The electoral agency has apologised for the so-called technical glitches and said officials were working to resolve them. Ukraine has declared a state of emergency in the country's energy sector, with a particular focus on Kyiv as ongoing Russian strikes continue to leave thousands of residents without power. President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Moscow of deliberately exploiting the harsh winter conditions as part of its war strategy, with overnight temperatures in Kyiv dropping to around minus 20 degrees. The declaration comes as Zelensky's US counterpart Donald Trump said he was holding up efforts to secure a peace deal to end nearly 4 years of war with Russia.
I have communicated with the Workers' Party MPs.
Singapore's leader of the opposition in Parliament, Pritam Singh, has been stripped of his title by the Prime Minister following a vote by lawmakers. The vote took place on Wednesday in Parliament, which is overwhelmingly dominated by the ruling People's Action Party. The move follows Singh's conviction for lying under oath to a parliamentary committee. Singh has consistently maintained his innocence. He remains a member of Parliament and Secretary-General of the largest opposition party, but will lose privileges such as additional allowances and the right of first reply during parliamentary debates. Australia's Great Ocean Road, famous for its scenic coastal views, has been forced to close after flash floods triggered by a storm hit the state of Victoria. Aerial footage showed vehicles being swept out to sea by floodwaters. The Victoria State Emergency Service issued an emergency flash flood warning and urged people to take shelter.
Having spent 165 days aboard the space station, and
4 astronauts evacuated from the International Space Station have landed back on Earth after their stay in space was cut short by a month due to a serious medical issue.
And it looks like our first crew member,
The crew's captain, NASA astronaut Mike Finker, exited the spacecraft first, smiling and wobbling slightly on his feet. It is the first time astronauts have been evacuated due to a health issue since the station was put into Earth's orbit in 1998. The team, known as Crew 11, will now receive medical checks before being flown back to land after the splashdown off the coast of California.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Women's Africa Cup of Nations title holder Super Falcons of Nigeria have been drawn in Group C at this year's edition, holding in Morocco from March 17th to April 3rd. The draws held earlier today in Rabat. The 10-time champions will face Zambia, Egypt, Malawi in the group phase. Matches in Group C will be played at the Larbi Zaoli Stadium in Casablanca. A total of 16 countries will participate in this year's competition for the first time in the history of the women's biggest football showpiece on the continent. The meantime, CAF President Patrice Motsepe is aiming for another increase in the prize money for WAFCON this year. CAF increased the prize money for last edition that also held in Morocco, with the Super Falcons, who emerged champions, cutting home $1 million, which was a 100% increase from past winners' prize money. Staying in Morocco, coach Eric Schell has played down talks about his future with the Super Eagles, but he says we'll leave that for the Nigeria Football Federation. The coach says there is still a task at hand as the team have shifted attention to the bronze medal match on Saturday against the Pharaohs of Egypt. And Morocco's coach Walid Regragui says the Atlas Lions will face the most difficult game at the AFCON tournament against Senegal, despite being tagged as the tournament's favourites to lift the trophy on Sunday. Morocco have been under enormous pressure to deliver a first AFCON trophy for their country in half a century, and just their second overall. That's your sports news tonight. I am Kelly Egiga. It's back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu honors Nigeria's fallen heroes. He honored them today, reaffirming firm support for the armed forces as Vice President Kashim Shettima led officials and dignitaries to the Wreath laying ceremony, concluding 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance celebrations. The new Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Refinery, David Bird, said the company will, as much as possible, shield Nigerian consumers from global market volatility. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night and stay safe.